Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. I covered Deontay Wilder's latest claim that he could beat a prime Mike Tyson, a young Mike Tyson, and for that matter any other heavyweight in history in my heavyweight news and brief number 17. So a card is on screen, it'll take you to that one, so that'll cover this, the full quote. But I thought it was worth getting into it a little bit more, going beyond the headline. I mean, the quick context to bring everyone up to speed: Wilder, in response to a question from TMZ about how he would have done against a young Mike Tyson, a prime Mike Tyson, he said there is no old school or new school fighter that can beat Deontay Wilder. I'd knock them all out. Obviously a very, very big claim. Some people aren't happy about it. And former undisputed champion Lennox Lewis, in the nicest possible way, has laid out in a series of tweets that he wasn't on board with it, and that the Bronze Bomber, he needed to worry about beating the best of his own generation and let history be the judge later on. And former WBC champion Frank Bruno, he's waded in as well, saying that Wilder's comments on social media, it's very easy to talk, easy to make a statement when you know it's impossible to do. And actually Bruno's views, they echo my own. It's these sorts of arguments, they're redundant. Just because we can't set them up, we can't match these guys, pit them against each other, we can't see it for ourselves. It's impossible. It makes as much sense as saying that Deontay Wilder ducked Mike Tyson because he started his career later. It's just nonsensical. I mean, also factor in, over time that training techniques, nutrition, and even the size of boxers at heavyweight, it's changed. So the more recent guys, they actually may have a edge over some of these older guys from yesteryear. But you could also probably mount an argument that, the special talent from days gone by, and this would sort of go for all divisions really, they could have lifted to another level or had some advantages with the advancements that boxers today enjoy. It's all like really trying to find the corner in a round room though. You can go round in a circle and never ever get to the end of it. You can argue this back and forth for days. Judging from the reaction on social media, a lot of boxing fans are either outraged or just flat out bemused that Deontay Wilder would even compare himself to Mike Tyson. And not for the first time, so more on that later. Especially given Deontay Wilder's record, it's not stacked with big wins. Not yet anyway. That goes to one of Lewis's points. Wilder needs to earn his keep. He needs to earn his way into the conversation. And this is probably going to hurt a few gentle souls out there, but Deontay Wilder is not a legend of boxing. Not yet. He needs to do more. We need to see more. Much more. His championship resume, if we're going to go into this, after 3 years it consists of wins over Berman Stavern, twice, Eric Molina, Johan Duhaupas, Artis Bilka, Chris Arreola, and Gerald Washington. Sure, they were all good wins, but apart from the first Stavern fight, where we didn't know who was going to win, Wilder was the overwhelming favourite to win against what many viewed as overmatched opponents. Especially Stavern the second time, grossly out of shape. He was expected to beat all of those guys, and actually handily. And a couple of those fights, he sort of laboured a little bit and made hard work. He got through it, spectacular knockouts, he got the job done in the end, and that's all that counts in the end. The broad brush response that I would usually get from some quarters when I raised Deontay Wilder's resume, and this is the immediate sort of reaction, is that he's been ducked constantly and fighters don't want to fight him without PEDs in the system. And that performance-enhancing drug argument, it certainly does hold some weight, as his two biggest scheduled bouts to date, Alexander Povetkin in 2016 and Luis Ortiz in 2017, they were cancelled after they both failed doping tests. That is very unfortunate, and it robbed Deontay Wilder of the chance to prove himself on the world stage and prove himself as truly elite. He wants credit. He wants to be a champion that is viewed as someone that's unbeatable, that he's the guy at heavyweight. He wants his credit. He wants his due. And before the first Luis Ortiz fight, he spoke about, if I beat Ortiz, everyone's going to give me my due, give me my full credit. But the PED situation aside, that doesn't explain why his team has matched him in voluntary defences against those middling opponents, Eric Molina, Duhaupas, Spilka, Areola and Gerald Washington. The thing I find very hard to believe about all of that is that there was no one better available. There are contenders, and we all know this, who specifically position themselves in the hope of a title shot. Good contenders who were waiting for their shot. I just can't believe that there were none better available for all those 5 fights that didn't want a shot. I mean, I think the reality is that there has been a lot of careful matchmaking at work with Deontay Wilder's career. But obviously we've had the unlucky stuff with Ortiz and Povetkin, so that's kind of hampered him as well. I mean, Berman Stavern's coach, Don House, he raised the specific point in November 2017 about matchmaking, saying in response to Wilder's claim the sport hadn't been good to him, he said, "Boxing's been great to you. The road's been paved. He picks his opponents. He had perfect matchmaking. Boxing's been great to you. He's been paid. How has boxing not been great to you? Boxing's been wonderful to you." And it brings me to the issue of ducking, which is the other argument that a lot of people will use when Deontay Wilder's name comes up, that people are ducking him constantly. And I actually think ducking is way overused in the sport of boxing. Throwing out a call on social media or through the media, it does not constitute an offer. It's ridiculous. You actually have to approach the other guy or vice versa. You have to actually come through with an offer. Calling someone's name doesn't mean anything if there's no follow-through. I often hear, and this is something that has been left in recent videos, and I don't even know why, because it hasn't even come up, but somehow it's been dropped in the conversation, saying that Anthony Joshua is ducking Deontay Wilder. But actually, if I recall, last year, in October or so, possibly, no, I can't remember the exact date, Anthony Joshua very publicly called out Deontay Wilder. And this followed weeks of targeted action by Deontay Wilder on social media and through the media. And Joshua went public and said, "Well, hang on, Team Wilder. You haven't sent me one offer, but you say you want to fight." He said, "If you're serious, where's the offer?" And it's a good point. If you're demanding someone fight you, why aren't you sending the paperwork through? You can't call the guy out repeatedly and not do anything. Otherwise, it's just all meaningless. So it's about this time in the comment section that there's going to be some pro-Deontay Wilder fans who think I'm going in on him. And I'm not. I'm just raising some points and counterpoints. I'm actually trying to be balanced and bring up both sides of the argument here. But there will be people who won't see that and they'll just go, oh, and get triggered. And they will call me a British fanboy of Anthony Joshua. But I'll burst that bubble right now. I'm not from Britain. I'm not from the UK. I'm not from Europe. I'm from the other side of the world, from New Zealand. It's about as far away from the UK as you can get. And Joseph Parker, he is my favourite heavyweight. I'm from the same country as him. But in spite of all this, I'm sure, some of these facts in this video will be completely disregarded in favour of rubbishing me because of some perceived bias. I've got no skin in the game here. Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, all this beef, I could care less about it because half of it's just manufactured anyway. I mean, I think if we actually examine this, we all know this. But I would say about Deontay Wilder's career, and this is the general fandom that sort of, engulfs him. Do you ever notice that there is a constant deflecting about his career, especially from fans? If you raise points questioning the resume, you're somehow automatically a hater. I mean, how does that work? I mean, there seems to be no middle ground, no room for debate. It's either, you're all in or you're all against them. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, grow up. It's all a bit tiresome, sad, and predictable. I mean, at this point, Deontay Wilder's record, it is what it is. 39 fights. 39 wins, 38 KOs. He's got some good names on his record, but they're not great names. The thing I actually never understand is, why can't his fans especially demand he be promoted better? Deontay Wilder should be a huge star. He's got a brash personality, larger than life. He's a heavyweight champion of the world. And he's barely selling out stadiums. I mean, what is going on there? I mean, surely he should be promoted better. Someone should be getting him bigger fights more consistently. He should be a way bigger star than he is. And I'm sure there are actually guys who have avoided Deontay Wilder. Undoubtedly. And I would have also liked to have seen him in with the likes of Tyson Fury, Vladimir Klitschko, and even Derek Chisora back in the day. That fight was talked about for a while. I think he probably would have mowed through Chisora with that big right at some point. But for whatever reason, those fights didn't happen. That's boxing. There's talk of fights. Some of them don't happen. But the thing is, and this is the thing that always seems to get, it's always the other boxer's fault. There's blame on both sides. It's never a one-way street with this. And when fights fall through or talks break down, what we generally hear in the media is, he said, she said sort of stuff. And generally, whoever makes the most noise, they sort of claim the narrative. But putting all that aside, Deontay Wilder, a very talented fighter, he's got a belt, and 2018 is shaping as a potentially great year for him. He has the chance to prove his doubters wrong. And the first step is beating Luis Ortiz in March. That can be his first signature win and a much needed building block for his legacy. A victory that would potentially silence many doubters and win over some fans. The undecided, sitting on the fence boxing fans. He certainly needs it. 1 or 2 big victories. That will propel him into the stratosphere. It should have already happened, but that it doesn't mean it can't happen. But these beating Mike Tyson, prime Mike Tyson comments, I mean, what's behind it? What's the motivation? I mean, part of it feels like a cheap trick to generate some buzz for the Ortiz fight. Because the event at the moment is definitely suffering from being under-promoted. I mean, what we've had is an underwhelming press release to announce it. There was barely anything in it. No official individual press conference for it to date. And all we've had so far is a 30-second face-off as part of a wider event for PBC and Showtime recently. I mean, so is it a case that Deontay Wilder feels he has to take it upon himself to generate headlines to keep people talking about him and thus his upcoming fight? I mean, sure, we will hear more things as the weeks roll by, but we're only a month out now. I mean, it makes me wonder, what is his promotional team doing? Why isn't his promotional team pushing this major event for boxing a lot more? Wilder can only do so much. The other part of me also thinks Deontay Wilder also believes what he's saying. He's a very confident guy. He believes in himself. And he does have that equalizing power. He has that confidence in his own ability. And it's not the first time that Wilder has actually brought Iron Mike Tyson into the conversation. He openly questioned Mike Tyson's record in late 2017, and he also said he was the most feared heavyweight of all time. At that point, a lot of us were scratching our head and going, really? I guess the difficulty Deontay Wilder is now running into with these Mike Tyson, I'd beat him, or my record's better than him, I'm more feared than him, all these sorts of things. This Tyson was a very revered figure in the world over. If you go on the street even now and ask who's the heavyweight champion of the world, some people will still say Mike Tyson. He was a worldwide phenomenon. And the fact Wilder is mentioning himself in the same breath, has the audacity to talk about Tyson in the same breath as himself, it's going to get up people's noses. I mean, part of me thinks it's intentional, but part of me thinks he believes it too. I mean, sure, it generates some headlines, in the short term at least. But I guess the other question is, at what cost? What's the trade-off? Does Wilder's reputation take a hit because people end up thinking he's a clown, he's deluded? But if, and this is a big if he holds all the belts in a year's time, then saying he's the best of all time at that point, it's at least defendable. You can go, I'm an undisputed unified champion. I've got all the belts. I've knocked everyone out. Well, close to everyone out. Undefeated, that sort of thing. And you've got, say, for example, Luis Ortiz, Anthony Joshua, or Joseph Parker, whoever he goes on to fight. If he fights them and beats them, he can actually stake a claim and go, actually, I am one of the best of all time. And then some of those other guys on his record, the ones that are middling at the moment, you start to go, well, actually, he's got those 5 or 6 solid wins, and then he's got 2, 3 signature wins. It ends up being quite a notable career. But right now, he needs more. And like Lennox Lewis says, there's more work to be done. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment. I know there's going to be a few comments on this one. Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like. Hit subscribe. I'm going to need the likes on this one because I'm sure there's going to be a few dislikes. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. That's boxing_squared. I'm out.